from the world of sports. We've got to begin with cricket and the big question of whether the selectors have taken a step forward or back in recalling the two legends of Indian cricket, Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma, to the shortest format. The BCCI selectors have recalled Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli in T20Is for the first time in over a year, naming the two senior batters in the squad for 3 matches versus Afghanistan this week. Neither of the two have played a single T20I since November 10th, 2022. But in the absence of Hardik Pandya and Suryakumar Yadav, it appears that the Ajit Agarkar-led selection committee has turned to Rohit and Virat for their experience and performances in the ODI World Cup. Now, Kohli is India's leading run-getter in T20I cricket with 4,008 runs at a strike rate of 138. Rohit is second with almost 3,900 runs at a strike rate of 139. They both haven't played T20I since India lost to England in the semi-final of the T20 World Cup in 2022. Both chose to concentrate on the World Test Championship final and the ODI World Cup 2023, and their return to the T20I side now indicates that both are likely to go to the T20 World Cup in June, since these 3 matches against Afghanistan are the only T20Is Team India will play before that. Top order batter Ruturaj Gaikwad was also unavailable for selection because of a fractured finger, while Ishan Kishan having taken some time off from the game. The selectors have called Sanju Samson as the second wicketkeeper. From India's previous T20I squad, a total of 10 players have been retained, including wicketkeeper Jitesh Sharma and Rinku Singh, while Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Siraj, they've been rested for this series. In their absence, the Indian pace battery consists of Arshdeep Singh, Mukesh Kumar and Avesh Khan. The selection committee has also decided to rest spin bowling all-rounder Ravindra Jadeja, and they've included Akshar Patel and Washington Sundar. So there you take a look at that. Rohit Sharma to lead that 16-member T20I squad against Afghanistan. Remember, these are the 3 T20Is that India play before the T20 World Cup. Last 3 T20Is. This is the last T20I series for India. They play these 3 T20Is versus Afghanistan, the first of which they play on 11th. That's the Thursday, this coming Thursday. India's only T20Is before World Cup next year, as we've been saying. So Rohit Sharma comes back after a gap of 14 months. So does Virat Kohli. What does this mean for this Indian squad? Does this also mean that now one can expect Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli to be in that T20 squad for the World Cup? These are all the questions. But what this has done is that this has made us all sit up and wonder what that World Cup squad is going to be. My colleague Abhishek Kumar is here with us as well. A lot of people are saying, is it, 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards? Is that what you think as well? Because, at the end of the day, India and Indian selectors did move on from Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma. There's no denying it. But now they're back.
Yeah, in
fact, how do you look at that?
Yeah, head coach Rahul Dravid was the one who spoke last year and said that they're looking to move past Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma in T20Is at least. And Bhuvneshwar Kumar was also in that group of senior players who were said that, who were likely, who were dropped for India to move on from them. And now, all of a sudden we have Virat and Rohit back after almost 14 months, and they haven't played a T20I in 14 months. They haven't proved themselves in the shortest formats. We know there is experience, there is experience that counts in the big, in the big tournaments, and that is one reason why India has, gone back to them. But also we'll have to look that Hardik Pandya and Suryakumar Yadav were both not available, so that could also be one of the biggest reasons why Virat and Rohit have been called back.
But my thing is that this obviously now means that Indian BCCI are looking at Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma as being part of that T20I World Cup squad.
Right.
That is one of the reasons why you would call these 2 legends back. I'm wondering, given the biggest problem with India in the last 2 T20 World Cups was their conservative batting, that are they doing the same mistake again? Without having taken anything away from these 2 greats of the game, They are the leading run getters in T20Is for India. But having said that, the strike rate, is that going to be an issue once again? Or do you think that in this series, they will go hammer and tongs? Like they will try to prove to everybody that we can bat in that new way that is expected out of batters in T20Is.
I think, yeah, for Rohit, it won't be a very big of a transition because the kind of batting he has shown in the last few months,
Exactly.
he has stick to that template of attacking cricket, and I think that is one reason why also, you know, Rohit is back in this squad now and is leading, because he has shown that he can lead from the front and he can be your, you know, flag bearer for the kind of cricket, for the brand of cricket that you want to play in T20Is. But of course, for Virat Kohli, it's going to be very difficult, and there are rightly questions around his selection, because Virat's strike rate against spin is not that good.
Yeah.
Even if we look at his IPL stats, you know, his record against spin in the last few years has obviously gone down. And when you're playing a World Cup in West Indies, where spin is going to be an important factor, you want a number 3 or 4. Virat is likely to bat at 3 or 4. You want a number 3 and 4 to be good against spin.
Yeah.
You have a Surya Kumar Yadav who has batted at number 3 already for so long, and is your gun player in T20Is. You won't like to rotate his, you know, position for someone who has not batted and done it in T20Is in the last 1 year. So it's going to be very difficult for Virat. I think for Rohit it's going to be a natural transition, because he has been opening in the kind of manner which you want a T20 opener to be. To be like, you know, in the ODI World Cup, he has shown that he can stick to that template and he can play attacking way if you want him to. But for Virat, it's going to be a huge transition.
Which then leads me to the next question. What happens when Hardik Pandya comes back? I mean, in the absence of Rohit Sharma as the in T20Is, Hardik Pandya was your captain. You'd sort of moved on, as we've been saying. He was the player that, you know, took up the leadership responsibilities. Now, when he does come back, what happens then?
Exactly. That's why I say it's difficult for Virat to be in this squad, because he is going to play at number 3 or 4. Now you have a Surya Kumar Yadav who plays at 3. You have a Tilak Verma who is going to play at 4. If you want Ishan Kishan in this lineup, then he comes in at 4 or 5. Then you have Hardik, Ravindra Jadeja to slot in, and you also have a Rinku Singh who you cannot drop, because the kind of performances he has produced as a finisher, he has basically locked himself in the number 6 or 7 spot. So that leaves you with very little to experiment in the top 4, and Virat is someone who has to be slotted in the top 4. So once Hardik returns, if he plays at number 5 or 6, you know, you have to accommodate a Tilak Verma, a Surya Kumar Yadav and Ishan Kishan in your top 4. So it's going to be very difficult. Also there is Shubman Gill and Yashasvi Jaiswal for that top 3 spot. So it will be difficult.
So I very clearly remember now, if you go back to the T20 World Cup semi-final that India played against England, that India lost, the biggest reason, and I know Rohit Sharma didn't think so, because in the post-match presentation he said it was the bowlers who could have been better, but one of the biggest reasons was conservative batting from India, especially in the power plays, which has been sort of the theme for this Indian team in the last 2-3 World Cups, T20 World Cups, where in the power plays you haven't gotten off to a quick start. Now, in that semi-final, also if I remember very clearly, unlike what Jos Buttler did for England when he batted second, Indians did not hit any boundaries, I think Indian openers hit just 4 boundaries in the power plays, whereas Jos Buttler, he hit 4 of the 7 balls that he faced, first 7 balls that he faced. That was the kind of difference. Now, I know that Rohit Sharma's mindset is different. We've seen him take on that role, and I also feel, which is what he's been saying, right? From the time that he's taken over captaincy, he has spoken about this new attacking brand of cricket, right? That's what he's been talking about. So I know, and he's followed it to the T. To his credit, ODIs, he was the one who gave India those quick starts. But T20Is, how difficult will it be to then try to fit in Yashasvi Jaiswal and Shubman Gill, who have already reached another level when it comes to opening the batting in T20Is?
I think it's for Yashasvi Jaiswal to ignore him, it will be very difficult for the selectors, for the kind of template he plays. I mean, he can attack spinners, he can go after fast bowlers, and he has shown that he has that temperament as well to play at the highest level. In Shubman Gill's case, obviously his performances have not translated from IPL to international cricket. In T20Is, he has not, he's not been that consistent. Even if you look at the last few matches, he has like failed to justify his selection. But it will be very difficult to ignore someone like a Yashasvi Jaiswal, who's also a left-hander.
Yeah.
So you want a left-right combination at the top of your order. I think it will be a difficult choice between these two, but Yashasvi Jaiswal right now has the edge, and yeah, that makes it difficult for again Virat Kohli, someone like a Virat Kohli, to come in and bat at number 3, because you are already competing with the likes of Shubman Gill, Surya Kumar Yadav, Tilak Verma, Ishan Kishan.
Yeah. So here's my thing. Do you think that because Hardik Pandya was injured, the selectors thought, okay, let's get the experienced Rohit Sharma in. He's already in that great form. T20Is is something that he's been good at. And given how he played the ODIs, let's get him as the captain. But then to get him back and leave Virat Kohli out, that would have been a disaster. Is it almost like, okay, we've got Rohit in, we've got to get Virat in as well? Do you think that was what would have played on there?
I think so, because BCCI wants to play safer. I'll give you my perspective of why Rohit and Virat are back in the squad, because I think if in case Hardik fails to make the cut, if Hardik, there are doubts about his fitness, he hasn't played for a while now, we were expecting him to recover in the final stages of the World Cup, but, forget the World Cup, he hasn't recovered, and he has already missed the Australia series and the South Africa series, so we don't know when he's coming back. In case if he fails to come back, or he picks up an injury in the IPL at the last moment, BCCI is safe with Rohit, because they would say that Rohit led in the last series, will continue with him as captain. In case Hardik comes back, he does well with Mumbai Indians, he takes them to the final playoffs and shows that he has it in him as captain, they will replace Rohit with Hardik and say that Hardik was the designated skipper before, when Rohit was not there in T20Is, and will continue with him. So in both cases, BCCI is in a very safe zone right now. They can this bringing in Rohit is a master stroke, because in case even if Hardik returns back, they can easily replace Rohit with him. Even if he doesn't come back, then they have a safe choice in Rohit.
Which is then the other thing, whereas I feel like a lot of it will be decided by how these players perform during the IPL as well, because IPL is going to be the last tournament that all these players play before the T20 World Cup. And recency bias is always something we've seen in selection. But to then see someone like the youngsters doing well, or even Hardik Pandya doing well at that point, it'll be interesting to see what the selectors do then. And that comes down to the bowlers as well. Like Ravindra Jadeja right now, I know he's been rested, but is Ravindra Jadeja good enough to be in that squad? That's another thing. Is it because, the lack of all-round options that India has? Is Akshar Patel a better choice for them? That's the other thing. Who he's going to get a chance now. These are also questions that India will need answers to.
Yeah, I definitely think so, because Ravindra Jadeja, is your first choice all-rounder, has been a first choice all-rounder in white ball cricket for quite a long time now, but you see how selectors are planning this out now. They have bought in Shivam Dube as well, and Shivam Dube in the Ranji match against Bihar took 4 wickets. He bowled very well, and he has been batting well in the IPL. He has shown that for CSK. And you need a spin basher when you're playing a World Cup in West Indies. You need someone in your middle order who can take on spin straight away, and Shivam Dube offers you that. So the selectors are probably trying to also get in replacements for these players in case if they don't want to pick Ravindra Jadeja in the squad, or let's say there is an injury to Hardik. Who is your backup? Who is gonna bowl pace and bat at 5 or 6 for you? Shivam Dube is your next best option. I think that is one of the reasons why they are using this Afghanistan series to experiment for the final time before they can finalize on the 22-23 players they can shortlist for the World Cup squad, and then short it down to 15.
How much do you think the performances here in just this Afghanistan series, this is going to make a difference, and what do you think will be the approach of someone like a Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli? Would they look to, they're going to be in a strange situation, frankly, because right now, what are the people expecting out of them? The world is expecting them to go score big runs at a very good strike rate, right?
Yeah.
If they do that, do you think that that's it? Or it doesn't matter, irrespective of whether they do well in this Afghanistan series or they, you know, put up the numbers that is expected out of them, they would still be part of the squad?
I think for Rohit it won't matter a lot, the series, because I think he would have come in with a word with the selectors and the team management that he is going to lead in the T20 World Cup. I don't think Rohit would have made himself available for this series if he wasn't given that assurance that he is going to be the captain for India in the T20 World Cup. I think for him this series won't matter that much, but for someone like Virat Kohli, who has to win back his spot in the 11, who has to prove that, you know, he deserves to play at number 3 or 4. He has to be, you know, he has to be on his toes and he has to deliver in this series, and he has to score at a very good strike rate. Especially, you know, it will be also a challenge for him because you are facing Afghanistan, who have very good spinners.
Yeah.
So this is, you know, a final test for Virat Kohli before the World Cup. If he proves himself in this one, then I think he will confirm his spot.
Okay, Abhishek, it's always fun to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us here.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll slip into a short break. When we return, now sports news continues here.
Ram's Ayodhya rebuilt. Ram Lala's Pran Pratishtha. Countdown to January 22nd. Dateline Ayodhya. Catch the mega coverage only on News 9 Live.
Coming back to sports news, Brazilian paid their last respects to football legend Mario Zagalo on Sunday. The four-time World Cup winning football star and coach Zagalo died at the age of 92 on Friday due to multiple organ failure. He breathed his last at a hospital in Rio de Janeiro. Zagalo had been suffering a series of health problems in recent months. A steady stream of mourners dressed in black, the yellow of the Brazilian national team and the colors of the club where Zagalo played and coached, filed past his coffin at the Brazilian Football Confederation in Rio. And near the lace-draped coffin, you know, it was Brazilians' record 5 World Cup trophies. They were also there on display, as you can see. Zagalo played as a left wing. He was known for his tactical brilliance. He had a hand in winning 4 World Cup titles for Brazil, which is more than anyone in football history. The professor, as he was known, played alongside Pelé in Brazil's 1958 and 1962 World Cup winning teams. He then coached the 1970 World Champions side starring Pelé and served as assistant coach when Seleção repeated the feat in 1994. Tributes also poured in from the football world. FIFA President Gianni Infantino called Zagalo a tactical genius. World Cup winners Ronaldo, Ronaldinho and Romario paid homage, and current Brazil and Real Madrid star Vinicius Jr. simply called him legend. The only other man to, only other men in fact, to win the World Cup as both player and coach are Franz Beckenbauer of Germany in 1974 and 1990 and Didier Deschamps of France in 98 and 2018. India's most successful female boxer Mary Kom shared some tricks of the trade with young students in Mumbai. The 6-time world champion and an Olympic medalist, Mary Kom taught boxing skills to the kids at a workshop with a long-term vision. The workshop was organized to create a curriculum for boxing in schools. Mary Kom will assist the school to promote the sport with a vision to create champion boxers. She also talked about her struggles as a young boxer. She said that due to lack of proper facilities and no basic infrastructure at the school level, she had to enter late into the boxing field. Mary Kom said that schools are now emphasizing a lot on sports activities, which was a rare scenario when she took to the sport. She said, and I quote, back then when we had no proper facilities to pursue a career in sport, but now there are so many opportunities provided by schools. She also advised the young boxers that they need to understand that sports like boxing, wrestling, martial arts are contact games. There's a lot of hard work before required, before you go into an actual fight. And she said that one has to be physically and mentally fit before entering into the field for that 10 to 15 minutes bout. So it's not an easy game. It's a game of dedication and pure hard work, in her own words. On to tennis. In Australian Open, Naomi Osaka has reached Melbourne to prepare for the Australian Open. This is her first visit to capital city of Victoria in 2 years. She had missed out on the first Grand Slam of the year in Time for us to wrap this bulletin up, but before we go, New Zealand weightlifter Laurel Hubber had become the first openly transgender female athlete to compete in Olympics at the 2020 Tokyo Games. Although she failed to record a valid lift, but her presence, that proved divisive. However, she, under the present rules, will find herself ineligible for Paris Games this year, as the International Weightlifting Federation has tightened its eligibility rules.
With the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris on the horizon, there has been a seismic shift in the sporting landscape for transgender athletes, with the pendulum swinging back towards tighter measures in one of the most contentious areas in sports. New Zealand weightlifter Laurel Hubber was the first openly transgender woman to compete in the Olympics at Tokyo 2020, and though she failed to record a valid lift, her presence proved divisive. As of 2023, she would find herself ineligible for Paris after the International Weightlifting Federation tightened its eligibility rules. In March, World Athletics, the international governing body for the sport of athletics, banned transgender women who had gone through male puberty from elite female competitions, among other new restrictions. Federation President Sebastian Coe said the move was based on the overarching need to protect the female category.
Guidelines.
The new rules will impact athletes like Frances Alba Diouf, a sprinter who had hoped to represent her country at the Paris Games.
Even if we are a minority, we deserve to live freely. We deserve to take part in competitions and to compete in our category, and we are being refused that.
Diouf's doctor told Reuters last year that her testosterone levels are below the average of those found in cisgender women. But the tide was already turning. Athletics followed a similar move made by World Aquatics in 2022, and more sports organizations have followed suit. The International Cycling Union in July banned trans women who had gone through male puberty from competing in the female category of competitive events. Athletes who do not qualify can enter the newly named Men/Open category. Cyclist Kristen Worley, the first transgender athlete to legally challenge the International Olympic Committee, told Reuters last year that the moves are upsetting.
What's happening is the most vulnerable are being excluded from sport, and more for political reasons and not based on actual science and research.
Largely missing from the global debates are transgender men and non-binary athletes. World Athletics Co. said the governing body was not saying no forever to transgender women in competition, and also announced the formation of a working group, which will be chaired by a transgender athlete, to further study the issue of trans inclusion.
Ram's Ayodhya rebuilt. Ram Lala's Pran Pratishtha. Countdown to January 22nd. Dateline Ayodhya. Catch the mega coverage only on News 9 Live.
Yes, the scale of the attack surprised us. When you get a series of alerts, 16 intelligence alerts, if Maharashtra government at that time had alerted the Coast Guard and the Navy, this 2611 would not have happened at all.
And one of the details they had planned was to use these dhagas to mislead the investigative agencies.
All this was to be presented as a Hindu terror.
It was a Pakistan operation. The LET was the front end.
As the attacks were on, it was clear that they were planned and launched from Pakistani territory.
For all of those victims of terror that was exported from Pakistan over the years, including but not limited to 2611.
This and more, streaming on world's first news OTT, News 9 Plus. Download now.
Hello and a very good afternoon to all News 9 viewers. I'm Neha Bhan. Let's take a look at some of the top stories of this hour. We will begin with by telling you what's been happening on the Israel-Hamas war front.
The following content may contain visuals that are disturbing, graphic, or sensitive in nature. Viewer discretion is advised. This material is intended for mature audiences and may not be suitable for all viewers. Please exercise caution while watching, and if you find such content distressing, we recommend discontinuing viewing. This disclaimer is provided to ensure awareness and to prioritize viewer well-being.
Lebanon's Iran-backed Hezbollah group said on Saturday it had fired rockets at Israel as top US and EU diplomats visited the region to seek ways to halt spillover from the war. Here's a full report.
Israel and the Iranian-backed Hezbollah group exchanged fire on Saturday, amid fears that the Gaza war could spill into Lebanon. Hezbollah, the Lebanese ally of Gaza's Hamas, said it had hit a key Israeli observation post with 62 rockets. That was described as a preliminary response to the killing of Hamas's deputy chief Salah al-Aruri on Tuesday. Israel's military said approximately 40 launches had been identified from Lebanon towards the area of Meron in northern Israel. It said it had responded with an unmanned aerial vehicle strike on, quote, the terrorist cell responsible. According to the military, Israeli fighter jets and troops also struck a series of Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon. Aruri was killed in an attack widely attributed to Israel. The head of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah, said on Friday that Lebanon would be exposed to more Israeli operations if his group did not respond to the killing. Concerns over escalating regional tensions prompted a renewed diplomatic push on Saturday. Israel and Hezbollah have often traded fire across the Lebanese border. The West Bank is seething with emotion, and the Iran-aligned Houthis in Yemen seem determined to continue attacks on Red Sea shipping lanes until Israel stops bombarding Gaza. The European Union's foreign policy chief, Josep Borrell, was in Lebanon and had this to say.
It is imperative to avoid a regional escalation in the Middle East. It's absolutely necessary to avoid Lebanon being dragged into a regional conflict.
He added that his message to Israel was that nobody would win from a regional conflict. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in Turkey at the start of a week-long regional tour that also takes in Israel, the occupied West Bank, Jordan, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt. A State Department spokesperson said Blinken had emphasized to Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan the need to prevent the conflict from spreading.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken assured Arab leaders on Sunday that Washington opposes the forcible displacement of Palestinians from Gaza and the occupied West Bank as he looked to kickstart talks on Gaza's post-war future. Take a look.
This is a conflict that could easily metastasize.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is touring the Middle East amid heightened fears that Israel's offensive in Gaza will spark conflicts among the broader region. On Sunday, Blinken assured Arab leaders that Washington opposes the forcible displacement of Palestinians from Gaza and the occupied West Bank. The pledge came as Jordan's King Abdallah raised his country's concern during their meeting in Amman. The king warned Blinken that Washington has a major role to play in pressuring Israel into an immediate ceasefire, and warned of the catastrophic repercussions of Israel's continued military campaign in Gaza, a palace statement said. After speaking with Jordan officials, Blinken jetted to Qatar, where he said he had discussed efforts to free the more than 100 hostages still believed to be held by Hamas after an agreement mediated by Qatar broke down. Qatar's prime minister says the killing of a Hamas leader in Beirut by an Israeli drone strike has affected their ability to mediate between the Palestinian group and Israel. Meanwhile, in Gaza's Rafah, displaced Palestinians wait to see what Blinken's visit will achieve. We hope that Blinken looks at us with an eye of mercy, ends the war, ends the misery we are living in, this Palestinian woman says. Others at the Rafah camp aren't as hopeful.
This is a conspiratorial visit. This is an unfriendly visit. This visit comes to increase the war against us and displace us even more.
This is Blinken's fourth visit to the region since Hamas's attack on Israel on October 7th. The trip aims to gather Arab states' views on the future of Gaza before taking those positions to Israel.
We continue to raise with Israel the need to do everything possible to facilitate the provision of humanitarian aid to Gaza, and I will do so again when I'm there later this week.
Washington wants Israel's Arab neighbors to play a role in reconstruction, governance, and security in Gaza, an expectation that Israel's assault, which Palestinian officials say has killed over 22,000 Palestinians by Saturday, will eliminate Hamas.
Now, Israel says IDF have completed dismantling Hamas's military framework in northern Gaza and killed around 8,000 militants in that area. Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari said that the military has also seized tens of thousands of weapons in that area and millions of documents. Take a listen.
הלחימה תימשך במהלך שנת 2024. אנחנו פועלים לפי תוכנית להשגת מטרות המלחמה. לפרק את חמאס במרכז ובדרום, חיזבאללה בתפקידו, או תפקיד שהוא לקח על עצמו, כמגנו של חמאס, ירה היום לעבר בסיסים של צה"ל בצפון. לא היו נפגעים לכוחותינו. אנחנו חיסלנו את החוליות שביצעו את הירי, ותקפנו שורה של מטרות, בהם מתחמים צבאיים משמעותיים של הארגון. אנחנו ממשיכים להיות ערוכים במוכנות גבוהה מאוד בצפון.
In recent times, the Red Sea has become a focal point of hostilities, creating a ripple effect for global shippers responsible for transporting crucial goods. However, this challenge is just one among several that major carriers are grappling with as the new year 2024 unfolds. Key concerns for the industry, which manages a staggering 90% of global trade, extend beyond the Red Sea conflict. The year poses risks of potential Red Sea-style attacks expanding to the Arabian Gulf. Major players in shipping Musk, their caution that the sector faces the looming threat of substantial disruptions. These disruptions range from ongoing geopolitical conflicts to environmental challenges such as droughts impacting critical routes like the Panama Canal. The intricate schedules of vessels encompassing giant